Hello, Fran. Glad you can join. Let's see. So Kristen is on the road and said she would try to call in. So I heard from her. I know Robin is planning on traveling soon. I couldn't remember if she was leaving today, so she might also be on the road. Jim is out sick today, so I doubt he will Zoom in. He did not come into the office today. Who else did I hear from? Oh, I got a message from Phil Markert, who is still down in Florida and trying to recover from his knee replacement surgery, and he's been having some troubles, and he asked to resign from the EDC. He said that he's enjoyed his time with the EDC. He likes the direction and the energy that we have moving forward, but that he just feels he can't do this anymore. And he's hoping to get back up into Canada. Every month he would say, I think I'll be there next month, but he is still down in Florida. Yeah, so that is sad. He certainly served a long time and with great ideas and a lot of energy. So we thank him for his time. So he will not be here as well. So this might be it for today. Should we go ahead and get started?
Sure.
Yeah, may as well. We'll go ahead. Oh wait, my screen just jumped. Oh, Chris is connecting in another device. All right. So we'll call the meeting to order. 3:02. I have Dan and Wayne and Fran from the committee here. Did everyone get the minutes from October 19th? Does anyone see any issues with that? With the minutes?
Yeah, I had one. I have one issue that needs to be corrected.
Okay.
I'm listed as being present at that last meeting, and I wasn't.
Oh, you are? Thank you very much.
Other than that, I assume they're correct, but I wasn't there, so I can't vouch for it.
All right. Thank you very much, Wayne. I will make that correction. Any other comments?
I move approval.
Thank you, Fran. Dan? Are we all good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are we supposed to have a quorum in order to be able to vote?
I know, I was looking at the numbers here. I guess Phil resigned, so we're like almost at half. Let's see, Jeff, 1, 2, I don't remember what our numbers are. We can always put them on the next agenda. We can just approve the minutes on the next agenda and see if somebody else comes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, so we're not quite at half if we're at 10. So we'll just put those on the next agenda, or maybe somebody will come in. I've got a couple who said they might call in late, so we'll move that to the next agenda. All right, I'll go ahead and just start with my report on some of the activities, some of the things that have been going on this last month. The Affordable Housing Plan was adopted by the Board of Selectmen on October 28th, which is exciting. And so now we have the hard work of implementing the plan. The Housing Commission met just last week, and I joined them, and I plan to continue joining and helping them. A lot of their initiatives, a lot of the goals that they had in the plan talk about communicating things that they're working on and getting the word out to the public. So I can certainly help with that. Sustainable Connecticut. So the committee was awarded the bronze certification. So that is very exciting. And the committee is meeting to now look at where to move forward from there. And maybe for the next meeting, I will bring to the Economic Development Committee some of the initiatives under economic development under the thriving economies that we could take a look at and kind of prioritize, see where we might want to go with some of those initiatives. New homeowners mailing. There were only 3 house sales in October, so slowing down for the fall. But the mailing continues to go out. The newsletter, we just got that all together. Thank you so much to Dan for his quick pivot on one of the articles. That was great. So that we should be looking for the newsletter to be in the mailboxes the first week of December. By the end of that week, we had to, because of Thanksgiving and where it falls, it's in design right now. We got to get it to the printers next week so that it can go in the mailboxes right after Thanksgiving. So, which is good because people had a lot of exciting things for the winter to share. So it looks like another good issue. Holiday in the Depot is our next large event coming up. That is a Parks and Rec and WBA event. It'll be December 10th, and I'm meeting with Lisa and Connie, our new head of Parks and Rec, tomorrow, I believe. We've been kind of emailing and talking about it as we can. It's been hard to find a time where we could all meet at the same time, but the basic idea is that Holiday in the Depot will be the same as previous years, back to the original format, just with some COVID safety precautions. So masks, things outside, whatever the businesses are kind of comfortable with. Each business is a little different on how they've been handling COVID. The plan here for Town Hall is that Santa will be here, but none of the crafts and things will be happening inside. So any of the treats and snacks and things will be outside, and they're going to really work hard to keep the line spread out 6 feet apart and to make it move fast so that there never is really a huge crowd inside the building, so that kids will come through, and other modifications they're talking about as well. You know, probably not sitting on Santa's lap, but I think they're going to have some stools kind of out near Santa so they can do their pictures. So anyways, but the same idea as has been in the past, with music and lights and Santa and the lighting of the tree and businesses being open and caroling and, you know, whatever other things we talk about. Does anyone have questions about that? No. Fran, how are you feeling about that?
In terms of the way it usually is, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I mean, we're generally very, very crowded and have to figure out how to handle what it is exactly we can do.
Yeah. Here, hold on a second.
I mean, it's really too crowded in here normally to be comfortable.
Yeah, you are usually really crowded. I wonder if there's a way to move some things out. I mean, it's so hard with the weather too, but maybe you know, having,
well, certainly, I mean, we could serve, you know, I mean, the cookies, the eggnog and cookies could be served outside. But in terms of, I'm not sure. I mean, I was waiting to hear what the plan was in terms of businesses being open, and we'll just have to see how, in what way we can accommodate it.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea, doing the cookies and eggnog outside, and obviously masks inside. That's what
we require masks inside all the time.
Always required, yeah, which is fine. That's good. And we have here at Town Hall, and everybody coming in will have to wear a mask. So, but then what to do if the store gets kind of crowded? That is a challenge. I don't know if you count people.
Fran, are you, Fran,
yes, Dan.
Are you suggesting that we consider not having the stores open?
Well, I think, you know, I mean, I know that there would be a lot of people. I would not be unhappy with that decision, but I also know that for many businesses, it's their opportunity to showcase themselves, you know, for the first time. So I'm sure that there would be some tension over that. The Business Association is having a board meeting tomorrow morning.
Oh, okay.
And I would imagine that would be one of the topics under discussion.
Okay, very good. Okay. I think then that what we should do is hold on that, because the next question I was going to ask you was if we wanted to have the stores lit or in some way decorated, but serving whatever it was going to serve out in front of the store, would that work as well?
Yeah, as
And
long as it's not sleet and freezing rain, I mean, or 0-degree temperatures, you know, I mean, all of which could be possible, but are fairly unlikely. I think that could work. But is it is it desirable for all businesses? And maybe it ends up being an optional thing.
okay.
I think letting businesses handle things slightly differently is also okay. If, I mean, that's how things have been operating so far, you know, so you're mask required, some are mask optional, some don't say anything at all, you know, and it has been okay.
Well, that makes it extremely difficult when you have people circulating throughout the town.
I suppose. But like what I was gonna say is I don't see, it wouldn't seem to be a problem for me if you chose not to open for shopping, but had something outside, had some music,
Yeah,
and had treats outside, and maybe even a display or two of like a special book or a children's book or something, whatever you wanted. I feel like you can treat it differently, like, but we'll see what the WBA says. And Lisa and Connie and I are meeting tomorrow. I do think that outdoor stuff is going to go forward, though. We'll just have to see what the businesses are thinking. You know,
what is the time frame that you're scheduling it for?
Oh, I didn't bring the flyer with me. It's the same as it's always been. I forget the
6 o'clock.
Tree lighting happens, and then Santa comes at 6, I think it is, but I'll double check.
Mm-hmm.
Same as in years past, and it's just for a couple of hours. And some of the school choirs are going to be singing out front, and as always, it's weather, you know, especially since we're pushing more things outside, the weather will be more important than ever. And pop-up tents can be helpful as long as it's not dangerous outside. So I guess freezing rain, sleet, that's the worst. So we'll just we'll just have to hope for the best on that.
It would also seem that you might be able to orchestrate using some of the areas that are really open. I'm thinking of Judy Black. Okay. I'm thinking of obviously the front lawn of Town Hall. So there might be some other ways in which we could, so to speak, entertain and feed. Indeed, even if you were going to put up tents, okay, might be easier to put the tents up and just decorate the businesses, but don't necessarily keep them open. If you've got somebody who is desperate to keep it open, okay, so be it. But would be to kind of orchestrate the experience a little differently than may have been the case in the past.
Right, Dan. That's exactly kind of what we're thinking.
Oh, is that right? That's great. Okay.
Pushing, like some of the crafts and the letters to Santa that usually happen in Town Hall, they were going to push outside, either under tents or depending on the weather. Right. I know Judy Black's already has things planned to happen in their space.
One of the things that was amazing to me was the car tour. What is it, 2 or 3 years ago, COVID?
That was just last year.
Okay, then was the tour that we took. None of us were, by and large, inside. Indeed, none of us were actually walking. Okay, and it was just a stunning experience. So being on the front lawn, being on the front steps for Santa was almost as strong as if you had him back in the room you're in, Michelle. So there may be some redesign that would be appropriate and would satisfy your concerns, Fran, because I think they're totally justified.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And that's why we're gonna try, because it was really fun last year.
Yes.
We have it, last year was complete, people had to stay in their cars. There was no walking around.
Right.
Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked for flow. So since this time, people can be walking around, but we're trying to move as much outside as possible. So it is as much about the lights and the visual outside, because the inside is just not as safe. So yeah, so that's good thinking, Dan. It's kind of trying to combine the two in a little, but but without the driving part.
Michelle, what is the status of the lights that are on order for the other trees? Is that happening or not?
So that's the next, I think that was my next thing I was going to report on. The depot lights, they are on order. They got pushed back. They were delayed until, I think the last date Barbara said was November 27th, which has made this project a challenge. I just got a text from Daryl. He's going to check the electricity tomorrow morning, I think he said, or Thursday morning, to the existing trees. We have not, so here's where we are, is that we have had people come forward to sponsor trees, which is fantastic. So if the lights come, we can add the new trees because they're sponsoring them completely in cost. What we haven't done is the fundraising to go back into the original trees, because we aren't sure if the lights are coming. It's this kind of, they were going to come, we had the letter written, we were about to start fundraising for that because we need several $1,000s to replace broken fixtures and to get the tree guys and the electricians up in the trees. It won't be as much as the original install, but we still need several $1,000s just to light the original 4 trees. So that's where we are. I'm going to talk to Lisa about that tomorrow as well and try to get it. We keep getting an update from Barbara. So the first plan is for Daryl to just go and check the electricity and see the status. We're going to check the status of the existing trees because hopefully we can relight those. Hopefully we have enough of the fixtures still working. You can see.
Do you need several $1,000s just to do the current trees, or do you need? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
so not without adding any trees. Okay, you are already short funding.
Yes.
And when you say several, is that a number? Have you guys been rigorous with that number yet, so that you could say that it's $4,800 or $3,200 or?
No, so Lisa said she got an estimate from Bill, the tree guy, to go into the original 4. I think what's the challenge is until we know how many of those fixtures are out, we just really don't know how long it will take. See, for example, it took the electrician and the tree guy and Barbara an entire day to do the tree out in front of town hall with the bucket truck and guys up in the tree and the electrician there and everything. Well, they don't need to do that this time. That it might only take them an hour or two to just replace the ones that have broken, or the cords came undone, or some just might need to be plugged back in. We just don't really know. So I think we're having a hard time getting an estimate for that, but it's going to be at least several $1,000s because.
Once again, do you need several $1,000s for them to get into the tree and tell you whether it was unplugged or plugged?
Well,
in other words, no new lamps, no new lights, just this is what it's going to cost to have these guys run around in a bucket and Daryl worrying about whether the power is there and so on.
I'm not sure I understand your question. Daryl, right now we can't even see which lights are out because the electricity was, the temporary setups were taken down. So he's gonna put those back on
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay,
Then we'll see how many of them light. We've ordered replacement fixtures. We just aren't sure how
Oh.
many. So
Are the replacement
on
fixtures
Thursday.
available?
could that have been the gas
Are the
station?
replacements available, or is that the same problem
that's
as
what
the
we're
new?
waiting for. They're in the same order.
Okay,
She
so,
ordered, I
so,
forget how many she said she ordered, but. So the whole thing is dicey because if the new lights don't come in, then, you know, obviously the new trees can't get done and the replacements for the old trees can't get done either. And we aren't sure how many of those will be needed. So we'll know more on Thursday morning. And I was gonna propose to Lisa that we just go ahead and fundraise. I was just gonna say $3,000. We have, that'll be close to light the original trees. And just, but it's hard because if those lights don't come in, then there's nothing we can do. So, I mean, they were ordered back in August or September. And we're just fingers crossed. So I will keep you posted on that. If they come in, we're set to go though with people, with trees being sponsored and people ready, but it's just all about the lights. So I'll keep you posted on that as well. I'm hoping that comes together because it really was so nice. Oh, why did these lights keep going out? Sorry. And Jeff, it's so nice to see you. I saw you sneak on there a few minutes ago.
Thank you. It's good to see you
It's been a
too.
little while.
Yes.
Glad you were able to tune in. I'm almost finished my report. I'll just say that the childcare, I'm trying to remember what I reported last time. We got a great proposal to do a feasibility study on that building, and I'm just trying to figure out the money part with the business office, and getting Jim and Linda in at the same time has been a challenge. So I will keep you up to date on that. And finally, the community center is back on the agenda. Jim put out a request for volunteers to start moving the project forward again. And it was wonderful. We had 15 people come forward, which was great, of various backgrounds, all signing up for different aspects of the project, whether it was landscaping or construction or programming or fundraising, all various areas. So that was great. And I will keep you posted once we get moving. We're supposed to be getting moving on the fundraising any day now, and I guess it just has been delayed. So I will keep you up to date on that. All right, that was a lot. Does anyone have questions about any of those before we move on to the rest of our agenda?
could
A quick question. Is there a fundraising goal?
Goal for the community center?
Yes.
The answer to that question, Wayne, is that there is a preliminary estimate. As you know, there's a quite rigorous plan that's been put together, and that plan is quite detailed. On the basis of that, there is quite a rigorous financial analysis that was done as well, and therefore there is at least the broad outlines of what would be required. What has not been done is to translate it into an actual ask in the marketplace yet, or in the community.
Yeah, just to elaborate a little bit, we know that we need private funding in order for this project to move forward, which is what we're going to start with. The town feels committed to putting some money forward as well, since it will be a town building. There's been discussion on what should it be 80-20 or 50-50 or 60-40, and I don't know that we've really landed on on that yet. I think probably after some fundraising is started, that will become a little more clear, but I'm not really sure. So it's
Okay.
not a great answer.
That's at this stage, that answer is fine with me. The only other question I would have that's related to it is that, has there been any thought, or have there been any conversations about budgeting for the operation of a community center once it's complete? Because if we're going to build something of this magnitude there, we're not going to be able to run it the way we run our current senior center. So has there been any thought to that, and as to how that would be funded?
Yeah, there's definitely been thought about that, and recognition that there would be increased costs. However, we've looked also at some of the positions that we have, whether it's the seniors center director, the part-time Parks and Rec person, the part-time social services person that often helps with municipal agent type stuff. I mean, there are positions that we have currently, which, if they all moved there and worked together and maybe added a little here and there, it would get us closer than probably people might think. We're also really trying to make sure that whatever we build is as energy efficient and as close to needing as little operation as and energy as possible. So being modern and efficient and using renewable sources as much as possible, we're hoping to keep those operating costs down as well.
Michelle, this is Joan Lotzen.
Okay.
Hi, Joan.
Hi. I just wanted to add to that according to what I heard last night at this Board of Finance meeting, they're currently fundraising for the ambulance barn, for lack of a better word. And I thought Jim had said he didn't want to do both at the same time. So I think that may be one reason why no fundraising letters have been sent out yet. I could be wrong, but I know they are fundraising for the ambulance.
They are. And I think the last one I last spoke with Jim, he felt that they've made great progress and that they're getting kind of close. So maybe not close to being finished, but close to the phase 1 of that project. So yeah, I'll have to talk to him, and I'm not sure if he was wanting that to close out before starting the community center.
Well, they're close to the purchase price of the building.
Correct.
But there's going to be a lot more needed to retrofit the building. So
right. That was, yeah. So phase 1 is purchasing it, and then phase 2 is renovating it. And whether there's a pause in between those two, I'm not sure.
No. I wanted to ask you a question about the feasibility study on that childcare idea. Yeah. Who's going to pay for that?
Well, that is what we were talking about. Doing either renovating or opening a new childcare facility is one of the eligible ARPA, is listed as one of the eligible categories for funding. So the selectmen it's on the the list, but it hasn't gone to a town meeting yet. So until it goes to a town meeting, they are hesitant to get that started. I would really like to get it started. I did get a small grant to do exploratory work for this that will cover getting some of it started. So that's where I need to talk with Linda and with Jim about where we might have money. The first phase of the feasibility study is $3,500. So we're not talking a lot, and I could try to go get another grant possibly, or use economic development money in conjunction with the grant to just try to get that started. So we'll have to see. I have to see.
Do you have any projection on how many children would be involved in that?
Well, we did do a survey.
Yes, I watched that when you presented it.
Yeah, and the numbers were stunning. The people who were interested was actually double capacity of that building. So obviously being interested in actually showing up and, paying for it are two different things, but there's clearly a need. The capacity would depend on the age of the children and the programming. So what we're looking at the moment, was between 32 and 40, depending on the time of year. We were anticipating using some of the indoor space, some of the indoor play space as potential summer programming for working parents who have, need some place for their children in the summer. And that would be school age children. So the capacity that we're looking at the moment is a little variable, but they're very strict guidelines on square footage per child required.
Right, and number of workers too.
Hmm?
And number of caregivers as well.
Oh, yeah, well, yes. You have the ratios of caregivers to children changes depending on the age of the children, and the square footage required for each child depends, the infants and toddlers is one, and preschool is another, and school age is another, so.
Right, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, any other questions on things that I've reported? Dan, did you have a question, or were you answering Wayne? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, so keep going.
Okay, sorry. All right, so over to new business. We've been talking about updating the passport, and for those of you, it's the guide book that we did. Oh, for goodness sakes, these lights. Sorry. They're motion sensitive, and I'm not moving enough, I guess. So anyway, this is the guidebook, and it was done several years ago. I was not a part of its design, but Dan was, and Fran. This was a WBA EDC joint effort, and it was put together by Sandor Max. And so I asked them to put together a proposal for us to update it. Just so everyone is aware, we have handed out almost all of them. I'm down to the last several hundred. I have a few locations that they keep handing them out, which is great. But the reason we're talking about updating it is because it is several years old, and there are quite a few businesses in here that are no longer here, and we've added new businesses, and there's a featured events page. Some of that has changed. So it just needs an update. So I thought I'm just going to share with you the proposal that they put together. Can everyone see the screen here?
Yes.
Proposal? Great. All right, so this is what they put together. It was for our last meeting, but we didn't get to it on our last meeting. That's why it was prepared in October. So as we go through, Sandor Max, Julia and Zoltan, who worked on this, put together the process. And the first thing they wanted me to talk about was the fact that they felt that we needed new pages. They said they cannot go any smaller on the font, and I would have to agree. It's pretty small, and we've had several enough new things coming in that in order to add them, they would have to take out the pictures, and without the pictures, it's just a list of words, and it's not nearly as appealing. So the new pages are in this design, but what they've proposed here is that they would go through with the WBA and myself and the whole EDC, like all hands on deck, to make sure we find everybody, that we cross off the people that are no longer here, and we try to get it as accurate as possible. I mean, it's always a challenge. Things are always changing. But so the first phase would be to revise it. The second phase would be to go to print. And here are the fees that they are proposing. And one thing that I find really interesting is the cost, how it comes down as you print more. You know, we had been talking about maybe doing a smaller printing so that it didn't get out of date, but it's it's hardly worth only doing 1,000. I mean, at that point, you should at least do 2,500, if not more. I should probably ask Zoltan too about some price. I would imagine the prices between 2,500 and 5,000. Like if we, let's say we wanted to do 3,000 or 4,000, for example, they certainly wouldn't be more than the per unit price of, or per piece price of the 2,500. So we can talk about that.
Yeah, Michelle, I can give you some heads up on that from my years of working in the recording business and dealing with printers making CD inserts, which are a very similar product to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Because not only similar in size, but similar in how they're actually done and laid out and everything. The reason you get that disparity in unit price is because most of the cost for them comes from the actual layout process. It's not actually the paper and the ink.
Right.
So those cutoff points are actually very reminiscent of what I remember when I was dealing with printers.
Okay.
So that's not unusual. What I'm saying is that dramatic drop off you're seeing is not unique to this project. It's actually very typical for these sorts of things.
Right. That's interesting. Yeah, I was kind of surprised at the huge drop, but I guess it makes sense. Just for a little last bit of history, and then I want to hear what you all think. When the first set was printed, and I wish I knew when exactly that was. I could probably look back. I feel like it was 2018. Might have been 17, but I feel like it was 18. I think the print was around 7,000, which lasted a good long time. So,
Michelle, there's been more than one printing. There was a second printing.
More than one? Okay.
Yeah.
2 printings. Okay. And I'm sorry, I have one of the printing invoices in my office and I didn't bring it down with me. But Julia was filling me in on how many, because what you guys did last time, which I think made a lot of sense, is you got the schools and Mayflower and some of the realtors to go ahead and help cover the cost of printing. And if they would like, they can have their logo put on the back side. The ones that I have are it has the WBA and the EDC, the Explore Washington on it. But for example, I guess Frederick Gun School had 1,000 printed and Rumsey had 1,000 printed. And Sotheby's had several hundred printed, Mayflower. So anyway, so they could have their logo put here, but for an additional $400, I guess that to change up the print. That's how that works. So I'm not sure. I will talk to Lisa or maybe Fran, you at the executive meeting tomorrow. I can email this proposal to you so that you can have it to share. I'll send it to you and Lisa. I thought she might be here, to kind of just start talking about it. And I'm happy to help reach out to the schools and businesses to see if they would like to do that again, as we consider, going forward with another printing. I guess before we dive into the specifics, I would also just let people know how popular these passports are. People love them. I've had people call me or email and request saying, hey, we're having a wedding coming in town. Do you have some that I could share with my guests? ASAP had the young photographers exhibit in here Sunday, over the weekend. And because they were doing limited access, because they didn't want a crowd, they were having people sign up for times. So they asked for a stack of these to be on the table so that people could wander around and do something with their time until it was their time to come inside. So just some very creative ways people have thought to use it, and the feedback on it has been pretty remarkable. I've had people from other towns contact me because they've seen them. And so people are still impressed by it. So kudos to the WBA and the EDC for the original putting this together, because that was a huge task, and the feedback and the response is still very positive. So now I want to take questions and comments on this proposal. Anybody? How do we feel about this?
It's absolutely necessary.
I say go for it. This is, to me, I'm not a business owner in the depot, but I have run a small business. This is a no-brainer. The cost point is really not an issue, even when you fold in the design components, whatever, I don't see why we wouldn't do it, especially since you can probably get some folks to pony up some money to defray, at least, even if you can get them to defray some of the costs. Even if the town has to spring for the whole thing, it's still worth it, in my opinion.
I'm glad to hear you say that. Thank you, Wayne. Dan, did you want to jump in there?
No, I'm in exactly the same place that you guys are. As far as I'm concerned, this thing is critical. It's almost biblical, as it were. I might also point out that there are a number of surrounding towns who offer something similar for their towns. The beauty of this particular design also is that what it does is refer you in each one of the individual organizations. It refers you to Explore. So it fully leverages, as it were, what is available on Explore and what changes as Explore changes. So it's a very cleverly designed piece, and I would say let's definitely do it.
Great. I'm glad you brought that up, Dan, because that's also, things have happened since this was designed, like the services directory, which is only housed on Explore, because we knew that would immediately be outdated every time we printed it. That changes so often. So that was one of the things that Julia was talking about adding, is sort of a services directory, point to back to Explore for the services directory. So now it'll be even a more useful guide for people. So yeah, there's more. Explore has just grown in the years since this was designed. So there's more to offer even on Explore than there was, including the services design. That's great. Any other comments? Just Wayne, when you were talking about the cost, it's interesting because when I read through the Department of Treasury's guidelines for the ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan Act, the COVID rescue, one of the areas they talk about under economic development are hard-hit industries such as tourism and travel. And so I always felt that printing, a printing of the guide ought to fall under that, but they're not sure. They're going to ask for some guidance on that. As you dig deeper, they aren't sure if that is exactly appropriate or not. So I'm hopeful because we do have money in the EDC budget to cover some of this. If we were to try to do the design and a $5,000 or 5,000 print all by ourselves, it would wipe out most of our budget. So I want to be mindful of that. And maybe 5,000 isn't the right number. We can talk about that. The EDC can certainly cover the design, and then maybe we can work with businesses and some of the schools to kind of get a sense of how many we should print. I think it doesn't make any sense to print less than 2,500, but do we print 3,000, 4,000, 5,000? That I don't know. So, but the cost.
Okay, I agree, and I think that I think determining the ultimate number of the first run can be a fluid decision. That's fine. But I think, we should certainly go ahead. The one piece of advice I would give too is to ask the folks at Sandor Max to verify who the printer is going to be and make sure that, and if it's going to be the same printer, that's probably fine. But not all printing houses are the same, and not all of them use the same type of paper, even though they may say they do. And the great thing about this last one is it was done, it was a quality print job, and it was done on quality paper. And that actually makes a difference for a lot of the people who grab these things, because they end up on coffee tables and car seats and whatnot, and they are basically a representation of us. So we don't want them to look cheap and flimsy.
I agree.
If I could just comment on that, Wayne, I mean, you're absolutely right that it should be checked, but I think you could have at least 99% confidence that Sandor Max knows the printer, and the job would be of equivalent quality, just
Okay.
because of what they do.
Yeah.
That's a great vote of confidence, Fran. I agree. I did, when I was talking with Julia, she said that Zoltan did check in with a couple of other printer. He got some prices on this, but I didn't ask if the final proposal was the same printer as last time or not. But it does say here in the printing description, the cover is that it called soft touch outside, which is what you notice the minute you pick this up, that it does have that durable feeling. I mean, it feels, it's not going to get easily destroyed. You can throw it in the glove compartment and it's not going to disintegrate. So I agree completely. Do we have any other comments or questions? Fran, I'll make sure I email this proposal over to you and Lisa so you guys can talk about it at your executive meeting, and then we can talk again about moving forward. But it sounds like everyone's on board, and I can at least let Sandor Max know that we can get started on the redesign, on the update, and that the printing is in discussion. Does that seem like a accurate representation? Everyone on board with that?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Great. I'm just taking a couple notes here. All right, any other questions about the passport update, or we'll move on? All right, great, thanks. Just a quick bit of business. We have the calendar for next year to approve. We do have Jeff here now, so that brings us to 4, 10. Well, I don't know if we feel that we need a quorum to pass the calendar. The calendar.
What are you proposing for the calendar? Why don't we get that far?
Okay, so, and I can pull it up too. I'm sorry, I thought I shared it, but it's the exact same. I did? Okay, good. Third Tuesday of every month at 3 o'clock, what we've been doing. It's just all the dates. And I just put them all on a sheet of paper, and I compared it. I pulled up on Google a calendar that supposedly had all the holidays on it, I hope. And I didn't see any conflicts that I was aware of. So it's just as stands, third Tuesday with no changes. But I guess what we're supposed to do is have this approved and then give it to the town clerk so it can be posted for starting January 1. It's like a calendar year thing. So the committee, all the other commissions have started passing their calendars for next year. So if nobody has issues with it, Fran?
It's not an issue, but last year, didn't we, or this current year, didn't we skip the August meeting?
We did. We
And
did.
does that make sense to do so again?
It might. We did that because so many people were traveling. We didn't have very many people in town, and Jim said, oh, let's just skip it. I think a lot of commissions actually skipped August. We could do that again. Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, you don't really have to you don't really have to schedule your calendar that way. I mean, the land use commissions are required by state statute to post their calendars a year in advance. An economic development committee is not technically required by state statute. I mean, you're doing it as a courtesy, which is nice, but if you wait till December or whatever, it's not the end of the world here. It's like you're not in violation of any law or you're not even in violation of any Freedom of Information Act. As long, committees do need to post their meetings, their meeting dates publicly, but they don't have to do it a year in advance like land use commissions do.
Okay. Well, whenever I walked down the hallway and saw the bulletin board down there, Economic Development Committee has down by Sheila, by the town clerk, has a spot, but we were the only one that didn't have a calendar published. And I thought, let's just fix that and let's get a calendar. So I think,
Sure.
I think it doesn't hurt. We don't change it often. And if decide, if you would like, we can just take August off now. That seems fine to me. Or we can always just post a canceling in advance if we choose that. So what do you guys think?
Leave it on. You can always cancel it due to absence of a quorum or whatever. The Conservation Commission, for example, routinely cancels their August meeting, and they can do so because they're technically not a land use commission. Some people believe they are, but they're actually not. The only land use commissions in town are wetlands, planning, zoning, and ZBA. Well, I think historic district is technically too, but I don't know. I'd have to check on that. But
yeah, I'm not sure. That's interesting information, though, Wayne. I was always kind of curious about that. Okay. So since it's just a courtesy anyway, we'll go ahead and go with this calendar unless we hear anyone having any issues with that. Does that seem all right? We could move to approve it.
yeah, at the next meeting, because we don't have a quorum.
Right, okay, so we'll approve it the next meeting. All right, I'll carry that forward. Okay, so on to old business. And unfortunately, Kristen isn't here yet. She was hoping to phone in. But I wanted to bring you guys up to date on the kiosk. So we put out the notice that we talked about at our last meeting, calling for artists to respond. And I did get a response to that. I'm very excited. Amanda from Anvil, who their metal workers were very interested in putting in a design. But then she started asking about specifics, and I told her to wait, because in the process of that, Jim also received several letters from people in the community feeling that they did not like the kiosk idea and that we did not need one. So I spoke with Jim about this a little bit, and he actually also spoke with the trustees of Bryan Memorial Hall, and they feel, and I agree, we've been having a hard time figuring out the location, and we think that the location is part of the issue. They don't love the idea of putting the kiosk out on the side lawn. I spoke with Dan a little bit, I don't know, maybe last week. We were talking about how the traffic, there's more traffic, foot traffic on the other side of the plaza anyway, between Judy Black Park and the market and the post office. Jim also reminded me that there used to be a community bulletin board over by the post office. So there doesn't look like there's a lot of room right there, but I kind of looked over there. But one of the other places that we had been originally thinking was that the senior center, the current senior center, might also be a good place, since that's where we have the public restrooms and there is already a bulletin board, but maybe we could spruce that bulletin board up and add to, or put a kiosk near the entrance there down at the base of the plaza. So I just wanted to share those thoughts with you, see what everyone thinks. I know one of the letters had mentioned that a concern was maintenance of the bulletin board, but I had already said that for the flyer, that I would take care of the posting of the flyer. People would just have to send stuff to me, and once a week I'd get it updated. So the maintenance part I would be doing that. So I just, I guess, any thoughts more on location?
I'm not an expert in this, but it seems to me you would want that kiosk in an area that basically produces the most foot traffic. And that's probably not on the Bryan Town Hall property.
I agree with that.
So, I'm, of course, I know you run into other things, the most foot traffic is probably too close to the road, and the Department of Transportation would nix it. So, other than that, that's really all I have to say about it. It's like you want it someplace where you already have a lot of foot traffic, because then it's accessing it is, intuitive. But other than that, I'm not really an expert.
Could I ask what you were thinking when you first started coming up with the idea? I mean, you must have had something in mind, or a place in mind.
Yeah, well, so the conversation started like a year ago. We were talking about getting information out. We were talking about the depot and the fact that people used to be able to put signs down at the end of the depot, and now they can't. And where do people look for information? And we were talking about just sort of a common, like a welcome kiosk. So for locals to look for flyers, just like you would in the market, but in case you come when the market is closed, you're it's a Sunday afternoon or something. But also for people, we've just noticed, and I think partially because we've had so many new people in town, they kind of wander around the depot. Dan can speak to this because he sits out in front of the market a fair amount, and they kind of wander around looking for things. So we just wanted to help people, guide them, direct them to the Explore Washington website, let them know what's going on, just like a friendly place to get a little information. Dan, do you want to jump in and talk about the wandering people?
Well, the comment that I made to Michelle is that, as you know, Margaret and I will sit in front of the market from time to time. And we're there for a little while. And we've been just very impressed with the number of people that sort of are they're walking down the sidewalk there. They're looking around. We will ask them, can we be of any help? They then say, I just drove in from, some of them are just remarkable where they drove in from. And we're looking for, and they will name a shop, or we're looking for a place we can get something to eat, or we're looking for, we understand there's a thing here called the Hickory Stick Bookstore. That was sort of important to the Gilmore girls, and whatever the circumstance is, they're looking for some help in terms. So the idea would be whatever we're going to put up and whatever we're going to post ought to be on that side of the plaza, not on the not on the town hall side. One of the thoughts that might be worth at least exploring is in that grass area where Susan used to stand. Susan's been hauled away. My understanding is that she is going to be replaced with a mountain lion or something else. But the basic idea would be to put up some kind of if you're going to go forward. By the way, I'm not comfortable with the kiosk, but let's not go there right now. Okay. But the idea would be to put the kiosk in that location, which means that you'd have to work something out with George because he owns all of that property there. But that would be a location that might be worth pursuing.
It's a great location, so I agree about that. Tell me about your reservations about the kiosk. I mean, we're in concept here, so we should talk about this. Nothing's done.
When we put together Explore, what we did was we said Explore is really intended to be a kiosk in your pocket. And I say that in the sense that it not only gives you all the information that you would conceivably need for something which virtually everybody has already in their pocket,
Mhm.
but also it allows you to consistently promote the town through the year. So as you're getting ready to come and visit, or as you're getting ready to find where the Gilmore Girls were, okay, you're going to be able to do that even though you're not here. So the basic idea was that the Explore website, so to speak, the town website, the Explore website would replace anything that was needed with respect to a kiosk. And that was we discussed that. That was a significant level of thinking and conversation, and that's where we came out.
That makes sense. And it is. It's a kiosk and so much more, because there's way more than you could ever put on a kiosk.
And not only that, but for some of the people who say, okay, if you're going to do that, if you're going to have a kiosk and you are going to keep it current and keep it fully informed, it ought to be an electronic board.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that is definitely
incidentally, an electronic board with a keyboard, so they can ask some questions.
Oh, you mean like an electronic kiosk type?
Okay, so if somebody is trying to find, where exactly is that thing about dogs in the depot, where exactly is that? They don't want to have to go around and explore all of the various faces of the kiosk in order to find out that dogs in the depot is over alongside, et cetera.
Right.
Okay. They would be able to key it in and it would immediately illustrate it on the board. So that was some of the thinking that we went through when we put all of that together. So I'm not comfortable with the idea of a kiosk. One of the other comments that was made was that they're very easily and quickly obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
So last week's posting, and who is responsible and so on. And if you want to get commentary, if you talk to the WBA members who try to maintain a board in their own shops or the banks, okay, they will tell you that it's really very, very challenging in order to keep them current. I mean, you can do it, but somebody's got to have the job.
Yeah,
So,
no, it's definitely a pain. I guess these are all good thoughts, because when we were talking about it last year, we were just noticing the number of visitors we had who seemed lost. And I know, because I walk through the depot multiple times a day, I get stopped all the time. People can't find Steep Rock. They're working on trying to get some signage up, but are having, they keep bumping up against zoning and stuff. So just trying to find Steep Rock was a challenge. When everybody was on lockdown during COVID, we had people wandering around trying to find some of these places. Well, and another part, which when we updated the map, which will go into the new passport, we put the farm stands on there because they're very challenging to find. Trying to get down to Waldingfield or up to Averill or over to Starberry, you know, they're a couple turns off the main road, so they're a little challenging to find, and I want to make sure people can find them. And as you know, you don't always get cell service
Right.
there. So this is what we were trying to address. But I hear what you're saying, Dan, and you know, I read the letters that people wrote in with concerns about the kiosk, and I understand that. Some of the concerns were also, you know, the charm. The electronic kiosk, I feel, trying to do that in a way that fits with the town, that's not, doesn't make it seem too modern, like we're in an airport. That, you know, we'd have to kind of explore that. When I'm just going to share a picture with you, when some of the comments started coming in, whenever I see something, I grab pictures and throw them into files. So I'm just going to share. Wait, I thought I did this. I don't know why it's not sharing.
Incidentally, your comment about the farms, that was a subject that received a considerable amount of conversation. If I'm coming into Washington to find a specific location, the odds of me trying to do that by finding a kiosk in the center of town that would then steer me back to Averill, okay, was thought to be unlikely. More likely would be, and somebody made the observation, okay, that it is it's in the dashboard of your car.
Yeah, hopefully. Most people, well, like we talked about with cell service, the Wi-Fi in the depot is key, because if you don't have AT&T, you're not going to get service. And so, you know, accessing Explorer is just not going to work. But if you hook into the Wi-Fi, so, and maybe we need to do, we put up the sign that shared that, all the stores have the signs, but maybe what we need to kind of rethink a little bit about the kiosk. This was just another picture, a picture that I'm sharing with you. Can everybody see this now?
Yes.
Kent Welcome Center. It just made me think of Legion Hall and the senior center, because we already have it. There is already a bulletin board. It's where the public restrooms are. So maybe we put sort of a welcome to Washington with the updated map and just direct people directly to Explore. And we don't do a lot of flyers and things, but just another, it seems like people aren't finding Explore, I guess what I'm saying. We've tried, we've put up some signs, but they still seem to be wandering around a little bit. So maybe we do something more along these lines. This was another board that I saw that was smaller than the kiosk, just a small sign, but maybe again, maybe we do something that's even smaller that just says welcome to Washington and has a direction to Explore. You know, if you're looking for shops or place it, you know, but maybe we put the map there. I don't know. I'm certainly open to scaling it back, because we don't want to create something that won't be used or will become obsolete. On the flip side, in response to the ad, somebody contacted me. They're willing to donate. Actually, they're willing to fund putting in a public water bottle filler water fountain, and frost-free, so that you can always fill your water bottle as you're walking around, which I thought was great. And they thought that you know, the two could go together. Wherever this little welcome section is, that would be a nice thing to add to the depot. And I completely agree, because people are getting much better about carrying their water bottles around. So it'd be nice to be able to fill it if you're on a little road trip or you're out for a hike or whatever. So, yes. So we'll continue to think about that. Maybe Kristen had volunteered to work on the kiosk committee. Maybe we'll work with Amanda who offered to design and maybe try to scale it back a little bit and become less of a kiosk and more of a welcome and direction to explore. Maybe something like that could fit over by and that grassy space you were talking about, Dan, between 5 Janes and the market. Maybe that could fit at the end of the plaza by the senior center, by the Legion Hall. So we'll explore some other options to bring back to the committee. Any other thoughts or comments for the kiosk? No. All right. Thanks. We'll keep working on that. So the next thing on the agenda is a report of the WBA and selectmen. And I just wanted to share one thing and then hopefully Fran can share some. But at our last meeting, I forget who it was. I think Lisa maybe shared and somebody else that about up at Chippewa that the contact for jobs for filling open positions has left. And I did talk to the school and it is true. Michael McManus, who was the career coordinator, has left. So guidance department is taking over that aspect. So if anybody is looking for, if you have a posting for a job opening, whether it's at GW's or Marty's or the market, because I know they all employ high schoolers and they all have openings. You can just email Michael Boucher or Carrie Schur. Michael Boucher is the head of guidance. Carrie is the administrative assistant. And what I'll do is I'll put those contacts in the minutes of the meeting. We also talked about the fact that the kids can't take the bus down to the depot, and that policy is still in place. It was a COVID, they had back when last year, kids had assigned seats and they had to stay in the same bus. But Michael said he would reach out to the administration and the bus company and see if they could make and change that policy now that we are further along and in our understandings with COVID and how this all works. So they will ask about kids being able to take the bus down to the depot after school so that they can be available for work, because I think that could be really helpful. And then the last thing I was going to say is that I spoke with Julia about the December newsletter that's going to go out from Explore, and every December they do some kind of theme on shop local,
Right.
explaining the offerings, and they're working on it. It sounds like a very fun sort of gift guide to the holidays, but by fun categories. So, and we kind of talked about how to work the shop local in there without it feeling like you're being lectured to. So they're going to kind of work on that whole supporting your neighbor, friendly, community-minded thing into the blog for the December newsletter. So that's what I wanted to report back. Did you have anything else, Fran, from the WBA?
No, as I said, we're meeting tomorrow morning, so meetings one should have been today, one tomorrow in reverse, but it's still, it is what it is in terms of a report. But
Thank you.
I have stuff to bring to the WBA meeting, so.
Well, that's good. That's good. And if you have any questions on anything or want me to send stuff besides just that proposal, I'll send you that, but I'm
Okay.
happy to send along anything you need for that. And Jim is not here, so we don't have a selectman's report. So that is the end of our agenda. Do we have any other comments or questions? No. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. Jeffrey, it was good to see you. Did you ever find some commercial space?
I hired a new general manager, and that is one of his main goals.
Okay.
So unfortunately, we're looking in the Oxford area and Torrington area at this point.
Oh,
there's just nothing in Washington at this point.
You know, I've seen some articles about redoing some of the mill space in Litchfield. I don't know. That's not too far.
That's
Is
not
there-
too far. We're looking at that as well.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have a lot of big old warehouses sitting around here in
Well,
Washington.
I don't really, I mean, we're supposed to be sort of a high-tech company, and we're in sort of a hole. So we have to have something looking a little nicer than what we have.
Yeah, high tech. That's not something we have.
I was very excited when I heard the building next door to us went up for sale, and I think Dan actually told me about it. And so somebody else beat me to the quick. So
Yes. Oh, that's yeah. That would have been a great big space for you. Didn't realize you needed that much. Well, good luck. Good luck in that, and hopefully, we would hate to lose you. So hopefully, you'll be able to still keep one foot here in Washington.
okay.
All right. Well, I think that's all we have for tonight. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We are now adjourned, 4:15, probably one of our quicker meetings. Thank you all for attending. And
Thank you.
out.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great evening.